Be discussing divisional weekend and the national championship. What a great weekend of football. Some of the games didn't live up to the hype, in my opinion, but still, divisional weekend is always the best weekend in football, in my opinion. I thought wild card weekend was actually a little bit better this year, but it is what it is. We're going into a championship weekend that is, it's one of the less times I've been excited to watch a championship round in the NFL, but it will still be intriguing, and the Super Bowl matchups that can possibly happen are also extremely, it would be very storybook. I just need the Patriots to win because obviously, if you have the Patriots and the Seahawks, it's like a rematch of the Russell Wilson, Tom Brady days. And then if you have the Rams and the Patriots, you have the two MVP favorites competing. So I'm hoping the Patriots win this weekend because I do want a great Super Bowl, but we'll see what happens. But there has been a lot of things going on in these last couple of days. So I'm sorry to you guys that I didn't drop an episode sooner. Obviously, I could have dropped it Monday, but there's been some stuff that's been happening around the league that I feel as if I'm glad I waited because there's a lot to talk about. So first off, let's start off with the Buffalo Bills. And specifically right now, what we're going to talk about is Josh Allen. And Josh Allen is a great player. A lot of people like to call Josh Allen Superman, right? But today, I'm going to compare Josh Allen to a different superhero, all right? This guy right here, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, right? I could have pointed at that guy back there, Miles Morales, but unfortunately, he didn't teach me this lesson. In Spider-Man, I learned that with great power comes great responsibility. So in Josh Allen's case, a lot of people try to come at this situation as if, oh, his roster hasn't been good enough. Oh, his receivers dropped. Oh, James Cook fumbled. When you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, you expect him to raise the level of your team as he does in every game of the regular season. Kind of the Lamar Jackson dilemma, right? And I'll also give you guys another analogy. Which friend would you guys respect more? The friend that offers $50 or he tells you, I'm gonna bring you $50 to your birthday and brings you 20, or the guy that doesn't say anything about you. He says he's gonna bring you 20 on your birthday and actually brings you 30. Right? And I would actually compare that Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, right? A guy that shows in the regular season that he can do whatever he wants to any defense he plays, and then in the playoffs lets everyone down because he didn't show what he had showed in the regular season. And then you got a guy in Jalen Hurts who all of the time will play to this mediocre level in the regular season, no eye-popping statistics whatsoever, and then get in the playoffs and turns it up a notch, right? In my opinion, that friend that tells me that he's going to bring 20 and gives me 30 is just a better friend. He's more trustworthy, right? And that's kind of how I feel about this situation. The Josh Allen discourse this week, him crying at the post-game presser, has just twisted people's mind. Oh, Josh Allen, I feel so... Why? Why do you feel bad for this guy? And I understand that he has kept losing, but it's not the time to feel sad for him when he plays the bad game. Josh Allen is not a bad playoff performer, right? And all of the games leading up to this, most of the games leading up to this, Josh Allen has not played bad football, right? I would argue Josh Allen didn't play bad football against the Broncos. I think if we're comparing him to all the other quarterbacks in the league, he actually played very good football. But that's not what Buffalo expects from you. You are the superpower to this team. Just like Seattle's defense is their superpower, just like the Rams' superpower are those two receivers and Matthew Stafford, just like the Broncos' superpower is that defense and that pass rush, the Buffalo Bills' offense, or the Buffalo Bills' strength and superpower is Josh Allen's talent. And when you don't get that, it leaves you out to dry. So for people to be coming to Josh Allen's defense, there's no reason for it. And I hear that, obviously with the Sean McDermott firing, oh man, if Sean McDermott left, then why does Brandon Beane get a promotion? Guys, this roster is not as bad as everyone is telling you it is. Oh, well, we don't have a receiver. Josh Allen had Stephon Diggs for a pretty long time in Sean McDermott's tenure, right? Josh Allen still had some guys. He has probably the best tight ends in football as a collective with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. He has a top 5 running back in James Cook, a great O-line. You can't give him everything. He's getting paid $60 million a year. You cannot give him everything he needs. Brandon Cooks has not been bad at a single location he has played for. The defense has came along at the end of this season. And yes, Josh Allen's turnovers, 4 turnovers, I think 2 of them weren't even his fault. The controversial throw to Brandon Cooks, was it a catch? Was it not? That was an interception, first off. But it wasn't Josh's fault. And then Nick Bonito beating Deion Dawkins around the edge, that's not Josh Allen's fault either. But the 2 other turnovers at least costed them 6 points. At least. And 6 points was enough to where they would have won this game if he didn't make those mistakes. And that's the guy you depend on. With great power comes great responsibility, Peter Parker. Uncle Ben. Right? And that's how I think about this thing. You cannot, at a certain point, praise this guy for being an almighty warrior who by himself can win a Super Bowl. And then when he makes the mistakes and his teammates also make some, the other teammates are to blame. No, that is Josh Allen's job. He has unfortunately set that standard for himself. So, will Josh Allen be back? Absolutely. Is this one of the worst quarterback games of all time? No, we saw another divisional round game this weekend where we actually had one of the worst quarterback games I've ever seen. And we'll get into that later because it very much disappointed me. But back to Brandon Beane. Well, this roster has not been constructed as poorly as people have been saying. And the narrative this week, everybody's saying, is that why did Sean McDermott get fired and Brandon Beane stayed? Guys, Sean McDermott should have been fired as soon as the 13-second game happened. He got fired for, and I know the owner today came on and said, well, he got fired because of the Broncos game. That's cap. That is not, whatever, sometimes you just can't believe stuff like that, guys. That is nonsense. He got fired because the 13-second game happened, allowing all these 30-point performances by the opposite team to happen. That's when he should have got fired. That is an indefensible mistake to let Patrick Mahomes get into field goal range with 13 seconds left on the clock. He should have been fired then. And no, I don't think the timing is right. I think Sean McDermott coached a pretty good game against the Denver Broncos. I thought he was one of his best coach playoff games that he's had. The defense has been good in the latter portion of the year. They were good against Denver, I think. Denver wasn't a bad offense, a horrible offense this year. They did what they needed to do to give Josh Allen and that offense a chance to win the game. So a lot of people are taking the lazy take. Why is Beane not fired? This roster has been good enough for many of people to believe that they can win a Super Bowl. Many people picked the Buffalo Bills to make the Super Bowl. I personally picked the Buffalo Bills to at least beat Denver. I picked the Buffalo. I don't remember the last time I picked them to get to the Super Bowl because Kansas City has been so dominant, and I have picked Baltimore a certain year. But people have picked this team to make the Super Bowl, guys. This is not. And let's talk about the Bills owner real quick, coming out and making all these statements. First off, some people just should not ever get on a mic. Just be the owner. Because now you look so much worse than you actually are. The decisions you made are not as bad as how you explain the decisions. Right? And that should never be the case. If you're going to explain something, it should let people know that there was a more positive reason, or just give them clarity on why it happened. You made people more confused. I forgot what the Bills on that Pro Bowler or something like that. I know that's not it. But you blame it on the refs, and then you blame Sean McDermott for the game and fire him. And just no, it wasn't that bad of a firing, guys. he got fired because of, once again, they hit that proverbial playoff wall, which was true. And the 13 seconds game, he should have been out then, right? And then he came for Keon Coleman. Why? I think the media has blamed Bean and blamed the owner for making that pick, blamed the front office for making that pick. The jury on Keon Coleman is still out. Why on God's green earth would you disgrace Keon Coleman's name, by the way, who just scored a touchdown for you in a divisional round game, when he is still on your roster? What? Get this guy off of the mic for all, and it's funny because it made me think. I wonder if all owners are just as crazy as Jerry Jones, but Jerry Jones just happens to speak in front of a mic every week. Because what the Bills owner just did was disgraceful. Disgraceful. And once again, if he doesn't get behind a mic and he just makes the decisions, I see nothing wrong with the decisions they made. I don't see anything bad with Brandon Beane being promoted. Because this roster, once again, has been picked to win the Super Bowl by many of fans across the United States of America. So that's all I got on the Buffalo Bills. And you look at it, and it's like almost, are they dysfunctional now? Like all the noise. I think the best thing for the Buffalo Bills is for them to have a disaster of a season next year. An absolute disaster. Because all these expectations, I feel like, are just crushing them, crumbling on them. And I have not seen a team like this or a player. I can't even think of an NBA player to where, obviously LeBron James in his first 8 years. And that's kind of what this reminds me of. This pressure on Josh Allen reminds me of the pressure on LeBron James in his first 8 years until he won in 2012. So he got drafted in 2009 years. So it's just the same. It's like, all this pressure is just crumbling up. The difference is Josh Allen ain't leaving Buffalo. LeBron had the choice to leave. And I don't feel like this pressure at this point is helping Josh Allen because there's a lot of noise around him. It's not noise that's motivation. It's not saying, Josh Allen, you can't get the job done. I don't think anybody believes that Josh Allen, the player, can't get the job done. But I think there's such a negative aura around this organization right now that was self-inflicted by the owner that, I would suggest, and obviously you don't want to suggest, just throwing in the towel for next season. But, what do you really have to look forward to for next year? I would just hope you miss the playoffs in the fashion that the Ravens did this past year, to where you still have hope for next year. You didn't perform to where you should have been, and the next year you come back and play great. And that's what I think will happen with the Ravens this upcoming year. I think they'll have a pretty good year. But moving on, I have to make an apology real quick. Bo Nix, right? Bo Nix was the best quarterback to step on the field in the divisional round of the 2026 NFL playoffs. And in my analysis of the game and my co-host analysis of the game, we said that the reason the Bills would win this game was because of the huge quarterback gap. No, that wasn't the case. Bo Nix balled his ass off. And if this is the gamer that Bo Nix is, then I'm done hating on him. This game proved me wrong 100%. The throws he made when he needed to make them were beautiful. He capitalized on so many. The throw to Mims, the slot fade to where the corner that they just brought in, and Sean Payton. What coaching job has been better than Sean Payton against the Buffalo Bills the other day? That was elite play calling. That was absolutely. I think that game, obviously, they don't do NFL awards until right before the Super Bowl, I believe. But that game, definitely threw Sean Payton's name in the mix for Coach of the Year, because that was one of the best coached games I've seen in a very long time. The way that he moves the pocket for Bo Nix to where he literally has a dang boxing ring of space I mean, he could bob and weave in there, bounce off the back rope. He could do anything he wants in that pocket. And when he gets moving, Bo Nix is another one of these guys, man. Bo Nix and Caleb are so similar, in my opinion. Just the speed flies off the screen. The speed flies off. I don't know if there are faster quarterbacks than these two right now because Lamar Jackson is slowing down a little bit and Kyler Murray is slowing down a little bit. So Caleb and Bo Nix are out here looking like legit receivers running the football. And, man, I just hate to be wrong. And I do hate that I was so wrong on Bo Nix. And it sucks that he broke his ankle because that game, if Bo Nix was playing against the Patriots with Drake May, would have been pure cinema. 2 second-year quarterbacks going at it. Would have been just like 2015 with Brady and Manning. That would have been a beautiful game. Hopefully, Jared Stidham can still give us some great moments. But yeah, I got to apologize, bro. Bo Nix balled his tail off, finished the season on a high note. I know Denver is excited to get him back. And yeah, man, he outplayed Josh Allen. Like, let's really think about that. He outplayed the best quarterback of the last 3 years. No, I'm not saying he is the best quarterback because I don't believe that. I think Patrick Mahomes, until someone really stamps it, is the best quarterback in the league. But Bo Nix definitely came out and put on a show. And that's really all I got to say. And I'll break down more of my predictions when we get to that. I'll drop a video a little later this week, probably on Friday at some point, just telling you guys what my predictions for championship weekend are. But once again, shout out Bo Nix. You're a baller. Let's get into the Patriots and Texans game. On the Patriots side, good job. Your defense is playing out of their mind. You won a rainy game. Drake May's still struggling a little bit, but he's doing enough, you know. So props. I'm not really going to talk about y'all because nothing is really captivating and there's not really great storylines coming out. Y'all are just doing a great job. CJ Stroud. Another thing that I was extremely wrong about. Holy crap, dude. CJ Stroud played like he was trying to prove a point. To where in his third divisional game, he thought it was on him to win this game. Not noticing that he had the best defense since the 2013 Seahawks. The best defense since the 2013. And I know people are going to say, oh, what about the 2015? I strongly believe that this year's Texans team had a better defense than that Broncos team in 2015. The DBs, and that's what does it. The DBs for this team, Jalen Petrie, Reggie Bullock, Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter, Will Anderson, these are names, dude. Azeez Al-Shaair. These are hard-hitting dogs. Absolute dogs. The Patriots would not have scored any points. And I've heard people say if the Texans had 31 other quarterbacks, they would have won. I completely agree. CJ, your body language during the game, you poking, what? Bro, didn't you go to Ohio State? Weren't you the guy that walked in the league and we're talking about, is this the best rookie season we've ever seen? I picked him as the 5th best quarterback going into this year's playoffs because of what he has done up to this point, reaching the playoffs 2 straight years, getting to the divisional round 2 straight years, and the experience, right? We got all these quarterbacks in the playoff this year where it's probably their first playoff appearance, or it's Sam Darnold, who hasn't played good, or it's Trevor Lawrence, who I don't really trust, Justin Herbert, who I don't really trust. I thought CJ Stroud had a chance to take his team to the Super Bowl. I picked the Texans to go to the Super Bowl because I saw that defense. Nowhere in my calculations did I expect for CJ Stroud to be the reason that they didn't make it there. It's to not understand what your team has been for the entire year. I found it selfish. I found it selfish the way he went. I didn't find it scared. I found it selfish that he walked out there and tried to make these, and he was off. Some of the picks he didn't even, bro, just take the sack. on the pick six. Just take the sack. On a pick to Christian Kirk where he threw it over him. Put it back shoulder. Is your ball not capable of cutting through the wind? Because if that's the case, we got a problem in Houston. Houston, we have a problem. Damn it, I missed the perfect opportunity. But I'm so lost. I'm so lost on what is going on because I'm not blaming the O-line for that. I'm not blaming. The way he played shocks me. I have not seen a worse quarterback game in my life. That's serious. Nathan Peterman, when he threw the 5 and the first, 6 interceptions at one time, that's the only thing I can think of. This CJ Stroud performance made me sad, bro. Because CJ Stroud going into his second year, I predicted would be the second best quarterback in football. I know that sounds crazy right now, but you have to understand the times. You have to understand the roster he was dealt. When CJ Stroud got Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, I said right away, that's going to be the guy who's going to compete with Patrick Mahomes. I look at it now. My God. That was the worst take Adriel Miller has ever made. Ever. I'm looking at his conference. At this point in time, Trevor Lawrence is better. Cam Ward has the potential to be better. Josh Allen is better. Drake May is better. Patrick Mahomes is better. Justin Herbert is better. Bo Nix is a better playoff performer. Fernando Mendoza is coming into the league next year. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. That is 10 quarterbacks I just named in his conference. That could be better than him next year. What happened? What happened? And at this point, CJ Stroud has the most pressure going into next season of any quarterback in football. Because now it's to a point where is CJ Stroud even better than Bryce Young? I don't know. Because I saw Bryce play against the LA Rams, and that was a baller. What I just saw with CJ Stroud was a selfish player who wanted to prove to the world that he is one of the reasons that this team is prevailing instead of just leaning on his guys and going to the Super Bowl. This defense was good enough to beat any team in the conference. Oh my gosh, guys. A lot of people will talk about how the Bills missed their opportunity, which I agree with. CJ Stroud's lack of awareness to his roster and what he needed to do Sunday, on my birthday, mind you. CJ Stroud is one of my favorite quarterbacks. CJ, Bryce in your own draft class called Rod Wave. The fall off is dropping February 6th. Call Cole up, bro. Call Jermaine Cole up. Y'all look similar. Call J. Cole up. Ask him what could I do to be better. Because that was an atrocious showing. Atrocious. Y'all know I love atrocious. I love that word so much. Love it. And then moving on. Let's talk about a couple more things. 3 more things. Is this the least aura to a championship weekend we've ever had? And I don't mean to be rude in that aspect, but I don't know. Something about it just doesn't feel. I think about even last year, Eagles going against the Commanders, divisional game, kind of like this year, actually. You know what? I'm going to stop talking because that is a bad take. I can admit it in real time. Congrats to me. Let's stop talking about it. Yeah, that's accountability right there. I just wasted a minute of your guys' time, and I admitted it, and I'm still talking about it. So let's move on. All right. Rams and Bears. Real quick. There's going to be a quick synopsis on this. Rams don't have a lot to say once again. I thought they were going to win the game. They made it closer than it should have been. But let's talk about the Bears. And I actually thought the Bears outplayed them for a large majority. But you Bears fans crack me up, right? Oh, Caleb Williams, did you not see? Guys, he had 3 picks. He had 3 picks in this game. As impressive as that last throw was, It did not matter. It did not matter. This is my thing. The Commanders last year were the luckiest team in the league. Look at where they are now. The Bears this year were the luckiest team in the league. Yes, you have a all-time talented quarterback. I would argue Caleb Williams' second year was not even close to Jaden Daniels' first year. It just wasn't. It wasn't. It just was not, because Jaden Daniels from quarters 1 to 4 was putting together crazy performances. Jaden Daniels was a better football player. Now, yes, the rest of the offensive personnel, the O-line, Ben Johnson being there helps. That being said, you Bears fans think that you guys are just automatically going to get to the Super Bowl sometime in the near future. That's not how this works. Your window was right now. Your window was right now. You should have beat the Rams. And I thought the Rams were going to win. You should have beat the Rams. The notion around this season, oh, it was so magical. You know, we'll be back. Come on, bro. This should hurt bad. It would be different. You know, like for the Commanders last year, the Eagles were just straight up better. They were just so much better that you looked at it and was like, all right, well, you know, sometimes you roll the ball out there and it just doesn't go your way. No, Bears, you sold a perfect golden opportunity to play against Sam Darnold, the biggest playoff choker that I know. And I'm not saying you would have won that game. I wouldn't have picked you to win that game. But you had an opportunity to make an NFC championship game, right? And this is my thing. This league looks so stacked right now that there is no guarantee. Lamar Jackson has not made a Super Bowl. Josh Allen has not made a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow has made a Super Bowl. Has not been back to the playoffs in 3 years. Caleb Williams is not any of those guys. Not quite yet. And to think that the Philadelphia Eagles are just going to be out of there. The New York Giants with John Harbaugh are just not going to be contenders anytime in the near future. Your division, the Vikings, the Lions, the Packers, you are playing in the best division, in my opinion, in the league. The 49ers with Kyle Shanahan, you don't think that team is going to be a perennial playoff team for the next 10 years as long as he's the coach? The Los Angeles Rams, if Matthew Stafford is as good as he is right now next year, I don't know. Seattle's roster going into next year with the best GM in football. The Panthers coming up. I don't know if the Panthers will beat you, but interesting rivalry. Bryce versus Caleb. But those are the things that I think about, right? And that's where I get like, Caleb Williams had a chance to win a divisional round game. And because he made one of the most absurd plays in NFL history, it washes out the fact that he sold. He sold. And I think that going into next year, he's easily a top 10 quarterback. And I think for a 3-interception game, that's as good as you can play as a quarterback. But that pick, along with DJ Moore not running the route out, was an atrocious mistake. And a mistake that right now you think, oh man, we're gonna bounce back. Caleb Williams at the Bulls game. Oh man, I'm y'all guy now at the Blackhawks game. I'm here. We gonna win a Super Bowl next year. That's not the case. That's not the case. I watched Josh Allen crying at a podium. Deion Dawkins crying. I watched Lamar Jackson, ski mask on. Bro, I don't even know what to think about next year. I don't even want to think about that. These QBs are going crazy. Joe Burrow at the podium. I just don't know how much longer I want to play. That is the reality of what happens in the National Football League. And yes, I would be optimistic if I was a Bears fan. Because that's as a human being, you choose to be optimistic or you choose to be pessimistic. So it's good for you guys that you are choosing to be optimistic. But I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just giving y'all the reality of what happens in the National Football League. And I don't know, man. That's a huge missed opportunity. And I think 3 out of the 4 games, the one that wasn't the Seattle, or the 3 that wasn't the Seattle and 49ers beatdown, right? Those were 3 missed opportunities. The Bills, the Bears, the Texans should feel sick to their stomach. Sick. All right, so that's all I got to say about that. Props to the Bears, I guess, for this season. But once again, you never know if you're going to be back. So that's going to be extremely interesting. And then last thing we're talking about, Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza. My favorite quarterback prospect since Trevor Lawrence. Right? And a lot of people are going to say, well, Caleb Williams just came out. Caleb Williams just wasn't one of my favorites. I thought the intangibles weren't there. I didn't see the physicality as much. I didn't see the height. Obviously, he's not that tall of a prospect. Fernando Mendoza is easily one of the best quarterback prospects I have ever seen. And a lot of people are talking about, should the Raiders shop this first-round pick? Is Fernando Mendoza, does he just look good because his quarterback class is not good? Guys, can we really talk about what Fernando Mendoza just did? Won a Heisman, won a Natty, 16-0, 6'5", only has LinkedIn and YouTube. Just an elite talent, just everything you want from a prospect. The fact that he can run the football, the fact that he can make anticipatory throws, read a defense, get the ball out on time. How can you not like Fernando Mendoza as your number? If the Raiders even think about trading that pick, I will not understand. I do not see any quarterback prospects in the near future that match the talent, the intangibles, and the grit that Fernando Mendoza has. If the Raiders trade that pick, I don't know. I don't know. And that's seriously been a topic of discussion. That would be horrible. Because this guy, once again, 6'5". Hey, and by the way, the refs just letting Miami kill him the entire time. Just letting the craziest stuff go. First off, we got to get that stuff fixed. The college refs, hot take here, college refs are under-scrutinized. Pro refs are over-scrutinized. I strongly believe that. Because the way they were taking Mendoza out with no calls, and then they called the roughing the passer on Indiana on the last drive. Come on, bro. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. And Mendoza, I think, if you want to talk about the roster he had, I do think he had 3 great receivers, 2 great running backs, a pretty good O-line, and obviously an all-time NCAA coach. So he had the tools around him. But he's also battle-tested. He played against the likes of Oregon, Ohio State, all these Big Ten schools that is now the dominant conference in college football. And he beat all of them, ran through all of them. Once again, the way he knows exactly where to put every single football. I cannot see a world where you pass on that guy. I can't. This guy is elite. I would say, honestly, compared to Trevor Lawrence, what sticks out about Mendoza is the intangibles. Now, you look at Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, oh my gosh. I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be the best quarterback in football as soon as he stepped in it. But, and Joe Burrow obviously was the year before, so I think those two are both better than Mendoza. But, bro, I can't see, I know he wasn't a high recruit, but at this point in time, 6'5", big arm, not the biggest arm, but big arm, mobile enough, will fight for his teammates to the death, can lead his teammates out there to war. I don't see how it can get much better. So props to Indiana for winning that game. I was a big Indiana fan the entire year based off of Cignetti and Mendoza, and I grew to like their receivers are problems, bro. I think that's the most underrated part of their team. Omar Cooper, who's the white guy? I forgot. The white guy's nice. I'm just going to say the white guy. And then Elijah Surratt. That is a group of 3 receivers that has been underrated the entire year, I think. They are elite. But, yeah, I'm excited for Fernando Mendoza in the NFC West. And if he's good and I know he's going to the worst or to the probably the toughest division in football, that's going to be pretty fun to watch. And that's crazy to think about the NFC West if Fernando Mendoza is a good football player. Because one of those teams, whether it be Herbert, Sean Payton and Nix, Patrick Mahomes, which I don't think that's going to happen, or Mendoza, is just going to be at the bottom of the barrel. And they're going to fall off at some point. And that's how the NFL works. So that is crazy to think about. But thank you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll have my championship weekend picks out Friday. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.